Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Mr. Benja's ADD Experience Live back for 2022. I told you I was going to be coming back, and here I am doing the thing again. So I know it's like 6:03 or something like that, but ah, don't at me on that one because hey, this is Instagram. It's Instagram Live. We do things how we do it and keep it going. Today we've got on a special guest. Most of the creators that I bring on are your artists, your writers, your software developers, a lot of the people that I know from my normal run of the mill kinds of things. But today we have on Dynise Espeleta, and she'll correct me if I said her name wrong in a second. But we're going to have her on to talk about her journey. It's an interesting one. She's gone from marketing to being a creative director. She's done stuff with a travel agency. A little storied history. It's kind of cool. So I wanted to have her on. Definitely, I met her while working on a mural project that was really fun. So I got to see the artistic side of her, and we're gonna go ahead and bring her on and get that going in a second. As I said, don't mind me because I'm rusty. I haven't done this in 21, which seems like ages ago. But we're going to get into this thing and have some fun. Oh, there she is.
Hi,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right. Well, you seem all ready and prepared for this thing.
I tried to prepare today for being here.
No, when I thought when you did the test shot before, I thought I was going to see the red brick background and the other shot, but this is a different area.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at the red brick and in front of the window. So I have
Okay.
this other setup behind me.
Awesome. We got a little art back there to make it a little more artsy. I get you.
Yeah, I tried.
So how have you been? You had a busy week. You said
Mhm.
a lot of things are going on. Super Bowl and everything is coming around. So how's it been going?
It was really busy. We moved into this loft early this year, like January 1. And so it was our first big event for Stealthy Presents. Yeah, it's our first big event. So I actually got to put my vision to life with how I wanted everything set up, and it looked really great. I was really happy with it.
All right. So your premiere little launch. So really
Yeah.
quickly, tell us about what it is that you're doing.
So my boyfriend and my boyfriend's company is called Stealthy Presents, and he wanted to put music and food together. When we first started, it was infused food, but now it's just food and rising chefs in LA. So and my effort towards that is Stealthy Presents, and bringing it into more of a high end experience with the food and the music.
Okay. So that sounds very cool. I like the idea of that. I expect it to go great places and all that jazz. So really quickly, um, I know I know I asked about this question before, and I'm trying not to make it sound like a big question, but really quickly, just give us an overview, like of you know, who you are and what you do, very quickly. Just
So I would say that I'm a traveler and experiencing entrepreneurship for the first time. I come from corporate America and I worked in commercial real estate for like 8 years, and then decided that I wanted to go out on my own. And now I'm trying to figure out in what avenue that makes sense for me and just kind of testing things out.
that's that's actually similar to I didn't know about the commercial real estate. I knew you worked in corporate, but I didn't know it was commercial real estate. Somebody else I had on before worked in commercial real estate, wasn't really feeling it. There were too many freedom vibes she had to have, and she went on. Now she's doing her thing. So, what was it about the corporate America that wasn't vibing with you?
I think it was good experience for me, and it really propelled me to, I think, become a successful entrepreneur. Um, and have the like confidence to like pursue what I want, and really going into like a dark tunnel and looking at the light. I just don't know what that story is like.
Mhm.
But commercial real estate marketing is like all avenues, and I'm like a small business owner, and I'm helping other small business owners with marketing and trying to get their business up and running, whether they're like a big corporate company or like a mom and pop beauty shop, and trying to help and collaborate. And that really, those tools help me with what I'm trying to do right now.
Okay. So when you were working the commercial real estate, was that when you were doing the marketing, or was the
Yeah,
marketing okay? So you were marketing
it's
for
commercial real estate marketing. I'm not in sales or yeah, I didn't do leasing or sales. I work with those teams to build them up or provide them information that they needed to know to bring in the right tenants for the properties.
right. So and when we met, you were working on doing. I'm not even sure what you recall what you were doing, but you were uh, corralling artists, getting murals set up, and making sure the whole process of getting this community job was put together properly. So well, that was at the tail end, I guess, of your creative director of marketing kind of thing.
Yeah, so that is part of one of the marketing arms in commercial real estate is connecting
Hmm.
with the community. And for that, we were beautifying the center and bringing in the community to help us do that in a way that so someone who lives in the community can express themselves at the center so that we can bring the community closer and help the community come together at that center to be the hub, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And before we continue, right quick, I want to give a shout out to everybody stopping through. Marie, Joe, Fred Q Bear, um, Bill 489, JMJ 13, Kosher F, and Ayumi Malid. I don't know how to say that last.
It's just Yumi. She's my nail lady.
Oh, okay. Very
Yeah.
awesome. Very
Shout out to Yumi.
yes, you got a lot of love here in the chat. So yeah, if you guys want to ask any questions, they'll scroll by unless you use the little chat question button. So just want to make sure everybody knows that. But yeah, go ahead and ask things, and I'll stop at any time if someone asks a question, and then we'll address it. But what I wanted to jump into now was understanding your mindset, because it's a scary leap to go from, for a lot of people at least, to go from the corporate thing. They I don't know how much people I don't think people realize how much corporate America kind of does for you when they're handling all your insurance. You have the steady paycheck, you've just got everything in line and in order, and then suddenly you want to try to leave that. What was your mindset that made you say, you know what, I have to do my thing? Just tell us a bit about what that process of stopping, realizing, and moving on was like.
It took a really long time because it's comfortable and it's all you know. It's all I know. It's all that I'm around knows. I mean, everyone works for a company. It's really, I have my uncle who's a really big, he's an entrepreneur. I have another uncle that they started, but they were mechanics and they opened up
Mhm.
shops. So it was like the next thing for them. And I don't really know what steps they took once they became entrepreneurs, but it took me a really long time to take this leap because I wanted to start a travel company and I knew that I wanted to travel o-
Yeah.
and start tours. And I didn't know what that meant. That's not my background. It's just totally different. And so I just like watched a bunch of YouTube videos and
Yeah.
like, you need to do that. Like, how can I do that? And also, inspire people the way that these people are inspiring me,
Hmm.
kind of, if that makes sense. And then also, like, how can I make it easy for people to want to do those things or
Yeah.
to be able to do that? So, like, I was meeting a lot of people. This is when I was living in Philly. I was meeting a lot of people that were my age. I was like 27 at the time. And they just didn't have their friends were either married and had kids, and they were still single, and they didn't have anyone to travel with.
Hmm.
So that idea for me came was like, how can I like create a space where people can travel together that are all they're singles or they want to explore. And because we find ourselves waiting for people
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
we can feel comfortable to make that leap ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I wanted to go to Bali for 3 years and I was just not wanting to do it by myself. And so I kept waiting for hopefully someone to want to do it with me. And
Mm.
then I was just like, no, screw it. Like, I'm just going to do it myself because if I keep waiting, I might be waiting forever.
So
This
who
is
did,
my dream and I need to do that for myself.
so this is interesting because I don't want to say learn from, but who did you learn from or model after, if anybody, or was a lot of it just like, you know what, I'm just going to research and do this because I
Yeah,
need
that's
to.
what it was. I just researched and I did it.
Nice.
Basically. Yeah, I went. There was one of my friends was a travel vlogger,
Hmm.
and when I quit my job in Philly, I was like, I don't have a job right now. Like, what can I do? And then he was like, I'm in Bali, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to Bali then.
Yeah.
So then I went to Bali and I stayed there for 3 weeks. And at that time, I was really nervous. I think if I had the guts to just stay there and push through and like figure out what it is that I wanted to do. But at that time, I was still in the mindset of like, I need to get a job. I need
Right.
to go back to work. Like,
Yeah.
I quit my job so I can move back to LA, but where, like, now, like, I need to go. I'm having fun right now, but I'm going to go back because that's all I know and that's what's
Hmm.
comfortable. So it took me a while to like break free from that mentality.
No, I think the breaking free, the taking an action, at least for me, you find a relatively safe thing. You say, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'll find out what kind of happens when I get there. And I think, that's why I kind of was attracted to the creative spirit that you've got. When you said, you know what, I'm just going to go do this, and we're going to learn, and then from there, I'll be able to see a lot more. And does that make sense?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm like it took me a while to peel away.
Hmm.
And now that I want to stay here. There, my best friend Marie, she's on the chat, but she knows that when I got back from Bali, I was like, I need to find a job. I need to start working again. Like as soon as my feet touched LA,
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna go back to the way I was before. And, you know, I came back in October and now I'm kind of in January, February, and now I'm starting to feel comfortable. Like maybe that's just not the path that I'm on, you
Mhm.
know? And if I did really truly want that, I would be attracting it into my life and I'm not because
So,
what it is I'm trying to do this for myself and
yeah. So did you try to find a job and the energy coming back wasn't right, or what? Or
I
just
did, but I just wasn't that adamant. Like before I would be like Denise 1.5 because I'm like 2.0 now.
Yep.
Would have been like all over LinkedIn, all over Indeed, applying, interview. And it's just not, that's not even where I'm at. I even got like a small retail job before
Hmm.
the last time I was in this place because I was just like waiting for another job. And I'm not even there. I'm still like, using my savings and trying to make all of this happen.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. And I mean, also, I have help from my friends and my boyfriend. It's like totally helping, and we're working together to make this Stealthy Presents happen. So it's like a team effort, but I'm the marketing person. And so I'm doing all of that. Like, it's not like I'm like not. And I guess when they say you do everything as an entrepreneur, you really
Yeah.
don't know what it means until you're really freaking doing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, oh wait, I have to go. Huh. And it's just some mundane thing like go to the store and buy legal pads or something.
Yeah. Yeah. My friend asked me recently, she was like, so now that you're like working for yourself, do you still have like office hours? Like, I'm like, yes. I still wake up at like 8:30 and I start working. I start working from bed,
Yeah.
which is something that started during COVID anyway. So it's nothing new. But yeah, it's the same. It's just, you're your own boss. And I
Mm.
kind of like that because I'm bossy.
Nice.
So I should be my own boss.
Does that keep you? Does that routine keep you disciplined? And flowing? Does it work for you? Just you say you wake up at the same time and continue that. So you've got a routine.
Yes, I have a routine, and every Monday I create a checklist. And whether I look at that checklist all the time or sometimes I don't, and then I look and I'm like, oh, I did all of those things already. Moving on to the next.
Yeah.
Like I don't always cross off the items on the checklist, and then I'll go back to that page because I'll create a new checklist, and then I
Mhm.
will have seen that I've completed that list.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm kind of like I need a list because
Mhm.
like the creativity just keeps going, and I need to like refocus it.
Yes, that is one of the reasons I call this the ADD experience, art design and development. It's just when creatives start trying to do things, they'll go left, right, over here, there, down some random rabbit hole. It's great, but yes, keeping organization and some kind of trajectory is definitely good. I,
Yeah.
I recently started instead of calling it a to-do list because that actually gave me a little anxiety and just it was like, oh my God, I've got all these things I have to do. It's just I
Mhm.
have to do. And that's one of the reasons I kind of left corporate America was because they kept telling me these things I had to do. And I was looking at what I quote unquote had to do versus what I wanted to do or where I thought I could do things. And it was just this kind of friction. So I started reframing it as an opportunity list. Hey,
Oh, okay.
I have an opportunity to, connect with 18 more people today. I can fit it in here. I have an opportunity to do this. And so I just reframed it. And it's interesting how just that bit of reframing, you can start to flow better with it. Like, oh yeah, I could call such and such. And it just flows and it's fun as opposed to being a burden.
Yeah. Yeah. That's your words create your reality.
Definitely.
Like that kind that reconnects with that. 'Cause, like I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful with like how I articulate things or how I say things to make sure that I'm getting my like what I'm trying to say out in the in and it's received well.
Yeah.
Or like the way that I've meant it to come out, or that I'm using these certain words so that it's building my world. That
Yeah. You're talking about the way you speak to yourself and the way you're yourself
self and out, because
and
like when you
okay.
let it out, it like I don't know how to say that, but like what the words you use
Mhm.
create your reality. So
Yes.
yeah, I try.
And what I meant by that was I'm just making the distinction between, and maybe there isn't such a distinction, but I was making the distinction between talking to people and just the way you frame things um, when you go about your daily communication with whoever it's with. So
Yeah.
that's what I was getting at. But I do also respect very much the manifesting, energetic, woo woo spiritual side. Um, yeah, I don't know if people like the woo woo word or not or whatever, but I think it's funny. I like it, so I say it.
I say juju.
Juju. Okay.
It's the same.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
has that all? Have you always had a little of the juju going on?
I think it's always been around. It's just I'm like connected to it in a different way.
Hmm.
You know, I
Okay.
think a little bit more mindful, like tools that I've learned in the past few years that have helped me. Like I've definitely was one to spiral, you know, like one of my best friends, Sonny's like, I love a good spiral. Like I was definitely one to spiral.
I don't know what
And
that means.
like when you like, there is like I don't know how to, I don't know the word for it, but there's a psychological like ton, like a, have you ever seen it? It kind of looks like an hourglass,
Okay.
it's like, it goes like this.
Okay.
And so there are low vibrating emotions and high vibrating emotions.
Okay.
And let's say you're like scared, and then there's other emotions that go under that. And then that's when you spiral, you kind of keep going down.
Hmm.
And then when you say like you're trying to vibrate high, you have to climb
Okay.
to overcome that feeling so that then you can feel the next feeling of feeling higher.
Okay.
I don't.
No,
So anyway,
I know
it's just
I know similar concepts. I'm not sure I've ever seen this hourglass
it's the best
idea of them.
because
Okay.
I'm a visual person,
Hmm.
and once I saw that, and also I'm like I like goals.
Yeah.
So like next steps, and it like kind of brings it like that. And so it helps me like when I'm feeling low or I'm attracted, I'm like something has triggered me to feel this certain experience like feeling, then I know like, okay, feel that feeling, understand what that means to you, and then kind of move forward in healing. And so you can vibrate higher so that
Yeah.
when those feelings do come back again, you don't go back because like your mind and your emotions are separate. I'm not a psychologist. This is just like what I've learned.
This is
So,
woo.
and this is my favorite topic.
Yes.
I freaking love talking about this. So, your mind and your like thoughts in your mind and your emotions are separate. So, if you, um, let's say you remember something like, you said something dumb today,
Okay.
like you're like talking to somebody and you're like, oh, that was so stupid. I put my foot in my mouth, however, whatever saying, how's that saying? But
That's it. Yeah.
you said that, and now you're like kind of dragging yourself for it for the rest of the day, right? So then you start thinking other experiences that have made you feel that feeling because your mind thinks you want to feel that way.
Right.
So it's
Right.
feeding you. So it's feeding you past experiences so that you can continue to feel that way because it doesn't know that it means that it's bad. It's just like, oh, I'm giving her what she wants.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But understanding like that you don't that to just feel it and kind of like move forward and
Right.
not
Right.
and kind of have that mental capacity to not feed yourself so that you keep going down.
Right. So you acknowledge it, but don't dwell in it.
Yeah, like for me, dwelling is like thinking a lot about that same thing.
Okay.
But this is like spiraling is like thinking of something that is the similar, like another time that you might have felt stupid.
Hmm.
And then another time that you might have felt stupid so that you can continue to like feed that emotion and keep going down that path.
Right. So
I guess
that would be the lower part of the.
right. But but you feel it and then you want to kind of um climb up and like progress so that you can heal it and like not be there all the time. If
Right.
that, yeah. Which I was one to do that. When I was in Philly, like I love that city so much, but it brought out a really dark part of me
Hmm.
that I just felt like I had achieved everything that I sought out for. I was like 27 and I was running the marketing for the food and shops inside of Philadelphia International Airport. I was working with the people that ran the city of Philadelphia. I was
Yeah. Yeah.
27 and I was like, oh my God, it was a big goal of mine to be that and not and not get my master's degree.
Mm.
And then I achieved that and I just didn't feel happy. I was like, wow, like this is going to be the rest of my life and I don't know if this is what I want. And then I felt really bad about that because I had worked so hard to achieve you work so hard to achieve something you think you want and then you get there and then it's not and it's devastating. It was for me, especially being a goal-oriented person.
I was
And
about to
so
ask. Yeah.
And so having to reel it back in, being in a dark space, like really like just choosing me and like finding what it is that made me happy
Hmm.
and being on the path of like your like mental health and that's where kind of spirituality came in because before it was just like having faith and God, which is
Hmm.
something that I was talking to my like one of my really good friends about yesterday. Um and now it's become like a merge of like faith, God, and mental health and awareness and like spiritual. Like I really love full moon because I like that I'm releasing something and I'm prompted to release something every month, even if it's not something really big. And I guess that you can call that spiritual woo woo.
Yeah.
But it's also like a mental, it's like a mental health thing too. If you're
Sure.
not a spiritual person, it's just a time to like really
Now, when you say release, what do you mean by that?
like
Letting go of
when
a
you
burden, or
letting go of something, healing something that might be affecting you, shedding light on something that might be affecting you might be the
okay,
first step. um I always say like I release things that are in the way of what I'm manifesting or that I want, or goals. If people aren't spiritually, manifestations are truly just goals. And releasing any mental blocks, anything that might be preventing you from getting to that place.
right. I have a. It's funny. I come from a. Um, my parents were both artsy types of parents. My mother was a professor of music, and my father was a sign painter and a portrait artist. So that's what I come from. But at some point when I was young, I decided to rebel and get into computers because they didn't know anything about that tech stuff, right? And
Uh-huh.
I ended up making video games later on, so I kind of came back full circle. But being in technology for so long, I have a I had a different view of the way people relate to each other and spirituality. I saw it as a very kind of, no, this adds up to this and da da da, it's mathematic, whatever. But
Hmm.
very recently, I've started to relate the two. Like, wait a minute, it's still all one kind of universe, if you will. It's all together. So I had this concept in development where you're always um, building, you build, maintain, acquire, and release. And you're kind of flipping back between those four phases when you're trying to create something. You're
Yeah.
so when you're building, you're actually like constructing the thing. When you're maintaining, you're just like, okay, we got to keep this in good condition, whatever. You're acquiring, you're trying to find new information or new materials. But the release phase, that was always where you exhibited growth, where you're like, you know what? We're good with this one thing. We've gotten past that. We can release it, let it go out, and we can make space for something new. So it's funny. Just as I talk to more and more people, I start relating all these concepts, and they all make sense and they work together. So it's a
Yeah, I feel like all of these things are really aligned. Like the way that you've learned it is just matches the way that your personality will receive it.
mhm, totally.
So we all just find the like I always say like religion is the book is a guide to life, and we're just all finding what guide makes sense for us.
Yeah. So with now were you always like this, or was there just some uh like this? Sorry. Were you always kind of on the spiritual side of things, or did at some point you're like, hey, let me look into somebody, or you put me on to Brene Brown. I didn't actually know about her until I started going to that playlist you put out there.
Yeah.
Um,
So, like I think I've always been spiritual because God has always been in my life, but I'm not like, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic. Like my mom has taught me to really be like more of God is in your heart and you have a relationship with God in the way that you create or build. And you go through tough times because it makes your relationship with God and faith closer.
mhm,
And I've also learned, like in the past few years, that God is within you. Maybe God is not this like all-knowing being like up in the sky, but that God is you, and you are the creator of you and your world and your reality. And that was mind blowing for me
yeah,
because I was like, oh, like it's not like it could be both. Like when you're praying and you're like, I don't know if you pray, but when you pray, like you're really talking to yourself. You're really telling yourself things. And also if you believe in like a higher power of being, that you're connecting to that person or that thing, that spirit, like out there.
Right, right.
bigger. So like I guess to answer your question, it's evolved for me. The more that I've learned, the more um books that I've read, the more YouTube videos I've watched on like, because I'm not a huge reader. I'm not even gonna front like, oh, I read so many books. I don't read that many books.
Sure.
I listen to videos that reference the books. And then if I really want to, then I'll like crack open that book or I'll buy it. But the since I left Philly, I've really um learned a lot about spirituality, yourself, and how you're the master creator. Even
Yeah.
though I think I knew that already,
Hmm.
it's just a different application
Okay.
of like learning that stuff, learning.
Yeah. Now, was it something about the LA air that you got here? You're like, oh my God, I get it now. And you went to whatever yoga classes or you just it was.
No, no, I was here before Philly. So I went to college out here.
Oh, okay,
I'm
okay.
from Virginia. So I'm from Virginia. And I was like, Mom, I want to go to college in California. So I moved to San Diego first. And
I see. I see.
I'll stay at LA.
Okay.
And I was out here first. And I moved around a lot when I was little. And I've lived in LA the longest I've ever lived anywhere.
Okay. I stayed in San Diego too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
was
nice place.
I know, right? A lot of people, you know, I had a friend out here and he was thinking that it was like, it's this small little beach town. And I'm like, no, it's got several million people in it. And he's like, what are you talking about? And yeah, it's crazy. But no, San Diego was a great place. I was there from 2003 until 2011 ish.
I think I was there from 11 to 13,
Okay.
10 to 13, something like that. 11, 13, 10, 13, something. I was there for like almost 2 years.
Okay.
And then I got into Cal State LA and SDSU. And my mom was like, stay in San Diego. And I was like, peace out. I'm going to LA.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to ask, and thank you for sharing about the spirituality, being the creator, uh, manifester that you are. It's, I think it's very interesting. A lot of creative people or people who just build their own environment, they build their own reality. They start having this connection with some sort of energy, some sort of higher power, some sort of thought process that all kind of aligns, as you say. And I just think that's very interesting that I always catch that thread within people when they get really creative. They're like, yeah, do you know what I'm saying or
Yeah.
getting
I
at?
think it's faith
Hmm.
and passion.
Okay.
Because those are really big drivers. Like, you could be, I think you have to have at least one of those things, whether you know it or not, to like be courageous and create and courageous enough to share your creations,
Right, right.
you know?
So what fears did you have? Because right now I'm listening to you and like, oh God, she's fearless. She just goes in and does whatever. But
Uh, I think my friends would say that, I think, but it's really scary. It takes me a long time to take the leap, but once I'm committed to that, I'm there.
okay.
And the like we were talking about earlier, like just managing your thoughts. And I'm not gonna lie, like there are days, it's like a morning where I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Mm.
And then I'll pull up Indeed. And then I'll be like, what am I doing? And then I'll close Indeed.
Yeah. Indeed, being the
But
job hunting site. Yeah.
yeah, the job hunting, we're not sponsored by Indeed. But anyway, it's you just have to just have faith. Like you just know, like I just know I know that whatever I'm working on right now, because in my past, whatever I've worked on has always grown, and I've always achieved whatever I've sought out for. Always. And it just takes time. And whatever you put your energy into will grow. And if you have blockers or limiting beliefs in what that means for you, then those will stay.
Yeah.
So you have to overcome those things. You have to, um, be in a strong mental space to be able to overcome those because you're always going to reference your past in the negative light, usually.
Yeah.
And that's what's because your ego wants you to stay still because it's scared.
Absolutely. So with with your creativity and building and creating, um, and just getting out there and doing things, where do you think that we're in a weird time right now? I believe with the I don't I really think people are underestimating the effect that the internet and this connectivity has had on the human race. With putting your ideas out there and trying to create, how does how do you feel about social media in terms of being able to create, or the interconnectivity, not even social media, just the internet and creating?
It makes me nervous because it's out
Okay.
there.
Hmm.
So like when I first left to go to Bali, I just told people I was moving there. I didn't tell people I was like starting a company. I just like was like, I'm just moving. Yay, I'm traveling. And then it took me a little bit of time to want to share that that's what I'm trying to do. Right now, Bali's like impossible to get into. And if it's not right now, it's not impossible, but it's mad expensive.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want for my travelers.
Right.
So I'm waiting. But yeah, it's scary. Like I want to share and I want to put myself out there, but it's just a scary thing. Like this is scary for me. This was hard. Like I being like just
Yeah.
being live and talking to somebody about like my thoughts and stuff is like it's overwhelming. But I'm trying to get over it because you follow me on TikTok and I'm on TikTok every day. I try to make videos because I'm trying to be comfortable because I know this is like part of the journey.
Yeah, totally. If you, in case you didn't know, I am the consummate introvert. I'm not shy at all. I broke myself out of that a long time ago. Started doing stand up comedy and trying to host events whenever I could, but it's still not where I'm most comfortable. I just needed to do it because I knew so many people who were into speaking, connecting, being very sociable and interconnected in that way, that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get left behind if I don't at least understand this. So it became a thing. But yes, I understand the fears because I'm a, I don't even know if you would consider yourself an introvert, whatever, but it's a great thing. And I'm one. If you'd like a membership card, I can send you one later.
Yeah. I think I don't know. Am I an introvert? I think I can be.
Mhm.
And I like my time by myself, but I'm very social, like outgoing. I can make friends in a certain rooms, like I can have conversations with people in rooms, but the internet is different. Like that's in person. And the
Yeah.
internet is like I don't know, it just makes me nervous.
So yeah, you got on because when I met you, and shout out to Marie and oh god, what's her name?
Vanessa.
Yeah, I know her Instagram handle, and I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. I'm trying to think of her name. Vanessa, right? Riviera, um, awesome artist. And I remember I was just getting everybody's Instagram so we keep in contact. And when I saw you a little while later, there was like a lull period, and then suddenly, so I'm getting ready to go to Bali, and then next one, okay, so I'm here now and I'm doing this, and I'm like, wait, what? And it was just this constant flow of sharing, and
Yeah.
it's a lot freer than I would have thought if you would have told me what you were going to do.
Yeah. Okay, that makes me feel better because like I wanted to share that experience with people because um I know everyone wants to do that,
Hmm.
like to just leave and go travel or go somewhere else, but it's like it's a lot. And so I know like at least my friends wanted to know what was going on every day.
Hmm.
Can't talk every day cuz it's a 12-hour time difference.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share it. Like I really want to share. I want because I watched a bunch of travel YouTubers and I was like, they inspired me and I want to do that.
So you kind of use um, that trepidation as a little bit of fuel. Like, hey, I got to get out there and do it. Um, it's kind of scary, but it seems to me that that might be a little bit of the fuel that drives you forward.
Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think that's what keeps me going. I if I know what's happening, I get bored, I think.
Mm. That's actually in a lot of business circles. Uh, they'll say this when you're trying to figure out what to do next, and there's something that scares you. It's like, well, if there's something that scares you, it's probably something that the business is overlooking, and you need to go to it. You need to jump in that direction.
Yeah.
Um, Grant Cardone is one person that is on that kick. Like, I didn't know what was going on, so next thing I know, I'm getting in there and doing it. I got to figure it out. It was the fear of the fear was making him more afraid. So he's like, I have to go attack this thing, otherwise it's going to keep making me more afraid. So
Yeah, I think yes. I am like that. I think it's like it's like kind of like FOMO. Like if I don't go do this, then I'm gonna be spending a lot of my mental space thinking like, why didn't I do that?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
like, what is it like? Like the if of it all gives me the most like anxiety. I think
right.
it's a trigger of like I like shoulda, coulda, woulda, which my therapist said is like those are bad words. Like, so I tried to get
Yeah.
rid of those words
Hmm.
instead. And so then I lived it. So I didn't have to think that way.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I don't know that a lot of people really understand their drive. So thinking about it is pretty key. I really don't like putting things out there at all. Like
Mhm.
um, the way I operate, I don't how to put this because I don't put things out there like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. What I do is I tend to say to myself, where it's like, you know what? I'm going to make this, I'm going to make a resolution to do something. And it's going to be literally remarkable, meaning that somebody will have to remark about it. Somebody will have to say something at some point. And for example, when I was working in Santa Monica, uh, I was doing a lot of art at the time, but nobody really knew that. So I said, if people can't tell that I'm an artist, I don't need to go around telling people that I'm an artist. I just need to make it more of my personal, uh, my being, my core. If people don't know, then it's obviously not part of my core. So I started like at lunch, I would start going to art galleries and they say, hey, where'd you go to lunch? And I was like, there's this little art gallery down there. And they're like, oh, okay, let's go with you. And I just kept, I kept just, I kept
Are
doing
you
that.
okay?
No, I'm not okay. I'm getting choked up. It's
I'm
such an
glad you had
emotional,
water.
it's such an
You
emotional,
had some water.
yes, it's such an emotional moment for me.
Yeah.
No, but I was like, how do I live this? And because I never liked the idea of just, I shouldn't say I didn't like it. It didn't fit me to say, hey, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, or whatever. I might say something and then I change my mind. Somebody would say, well, hey, I thought you said you were going to, and that would just send me down a weird mental tunnel that I didn't want to go down. So I started saying, you know what? If I believe it, then let me just start manifesting it, bringing it about, creating it. And if it's not literally remarkable or somebody says something about it, then I don't want to say failed, but then I haven't done what I need to do. And when I was in Santa Monica, back to that, I was working, uh, I was working with a company and I went out to lunch with a few people and sat down and someone said, hey, what are you guys doing this weekend? And I said, I've got an art show that I'm going to. And someone says, oh, whose art is it or whatever. And I said, well, I've got a piece in the show actually, so that's why I'm going. And a couple of the people knew me, and they were like, yeah, wait, you're over here doing X, Y, and Z. You don't really do art. And before I could say anything, one of my other friends were like, excuse me, he's a bona fide artist and he's got da 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 da. And he pulls up my Instagram for me and just like hands it over the table to them. And they're like, oh, wow, that's cool. And that moment kind of changed my life. I was like, you know what? I didn't say anything. I just kind of lived it. And now I'm actually having a person remark on what I've done. And it's not validation that I'm looking for, but just the confirmation that, yes, I'm putting this energy out and it's causing a change in my environment, if that makes sense.
Yes, because you are connecting, you're putting you're putting out the energy of the world and to the world, and now it's being received, I guess. Right?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
That people are acknowledging because that perception of you is what you're releasing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And of course, this was part of the time where I was connecting more with the spiritual side and relating the two sides. I say two sides like they're really two, but you know what I'm getting at.
Hmm.
So yeah, and when the whole social media thing came around, I started just connecting more with that. Like, you know what? If I just start living like this and start making it more of a thing, like I actually didn't plan to have pictures in the background of my art, but people started asking about it, and I was like, it's all coming together now. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that.
Like,
Go on.
well, for me, like you have intention of like how you want to be perceived, and like how like that you want people to know that you're an artist on their own and just be living that. And I'm in the space where I'm trying to figure out what that is. So like when you asked me, you're like, who is Dynise? And I'm like,
Big question.
you're like, it's a huge question because everyone has a perception of me and like a definition of me. My best friend, even like when we got off the phone, I called her because I was like, who is Dynise? Who is Dynise? And and she has her own like words, and I align with those words, but I really don't know if that's who I who I want to be perceived as.
Yeah.
So I'm working on who I want to be perceived as.
Have you ever done the branding exercise, the personal branding exercise where you like write your name in the middle as, this is Dynise, and then you start writing out all the spokes that come from that and
No,
any little.
do that. I'm gonna write that down. Personal branding exercise.
Yeah. So basically, you write down who you are in the middle, and then you start writing down all the descriptors for yourself, like artist, you know, great family supporter, traveler, whatever other words could describe you. Like when someone says, who is that? You find all these different words that describe you. And then once you've got like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or so that you're comfortable with, then you start figuring out, okay, what's most important to me? How do these all relate? Because, I do video games and I do art, and people know me as being a person who does social media because I started doing these lives on a whim. And yes, I was very scared when I started doing the lives. I didn't know what was going on, but I did them. 150 in a row, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a commitment. I don't know why I did it, but it happened.
Okay.
But yeah, and you write down all of the different facets, basically, of who you kind of are. And over time, as you're looking at that, you start to realize, well, wait a minute. I'd say this, but other people say something different. Like, I might say I'm a cook, but other people may think of me just as an event planner. It's like, well, I guess I do bring people together when I serve my food, but they don't think of me as a cook for some reason. They think of me as an event planner. Huh. And what you think and what's coming from other people will start giving you a better idea of what you might be putting out there. It's a reflection of your energy. So
Yeah.
it's just a little thought exercise. I used to keep it on my whiteboard. I've removed it since, but Should do another one for 2022.
I like that. I'm gonna do that because I'm like, I know what I like, and I know, yeah, I just do I align like, do I think of myself as this word or that word? I guess it's kind of like Eat, Pray, Love when they were like have you seen that movie? They're
No,
like
I'm going to write it down.
okay. It's like it's a really good movie. I really like it. But anyway, so she's in Rome. She like quit everything and she decided to travel for a year. And she went to Rome first and everyone was eating and they were talking about their word. What's your word?
Hmm.
What's the one word that defines you? And she didn't know her word. And she was like, I think I'm a woman in search of my word. And I think I now, like, this is really raw, but I really feel maybe I'm a woman in search of my word right now.
All right. You're an explorer of some sort.
Yeah. Oh, explore it on all aspects. But that's a good word. I'll write that down. But I don't know if I don't know if I'm aligned exactly with that word.
So now that you've got your social media thing going on, you're more comfortable with this thing that you're building. You're definitely in the kind of the build maintenance area of what you're doing, and you said it was called Stealthy Presents.
Yeah.
Presence.
Stealthy Presents the Supper Club experience. Well, Stealthy Presents is like the company name.
Mhm.
And then whoever we partner with is who we're presenting. So,
Okay.
for example, we are partnering with a female smoking group. And she has like groups all over. She's from Minnesota. It's called Pink Sesh Society. And so we're hosting them smoking weed.
Oh, okay. For some reason, when you said like my mind went to like the old school long cigarette holders,
No, maybe it's the
with the
new.
white gloves, I don't know.
Maybe it's the new. But no, it's like a smoking, female smoking, group, and
Okay.
she has an Instagram page and has followers all over. So I found her because she did a roller skating event in San Diego with her followers in San Diego. So she's doing her first event here in LA, and we're doing like a ladies brunch at the loft. And so it's Stealthy Presents Pink Sesh Society on March 12th. So that's the whole Stealthy Presents idea. And then we also have Stealthy Studios, which is the loft that we're in, which is on Pier Space for rentals. And then we also host private events. So it's like the Stealthy Studios. And then my personal contribution that I've been working on is Stealthy Presents the Supper Club experience, which is higher end dining. I'm trying to bring back like 1960s Copacabana.
You're right.
It's with DJs and live entertainment, which doesn't have to be like showgirls or anything. For me, like if it all goes well, then I'll have like those Vivio experiences or like Spotify sessions, NPR, Tiny Desk, Color Studios, more like acoustic and like intimate experience with food, and then partnering with a rising chef to create a menu for that experience.
Excellent. So are you thinking a membership, or is it like completely like season based, like every month or 2 months or however often you do it? It's like, hey, this month we're doing the Halloween thing, and next month we'll be doing or whatever. So is it more just like is it literally like a club, a membership kind of thing?
I think if you ask Leland Jones, he's like the owner of Stealthy Presents, he wants it to eventually be a membership.
Okay.
So you're a member and you get access to all of these events that we're hosting. And then whatever tickets are left, maybe we open it up to the public. But we really want it to be like small and low key and like kind of an invite only experience where we send out an email blast and we're saying these are the events and you guys get first dibs on tickets, and then hopefully it never goes to the public. Like that's on social like that.
I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I don't want to be like, I don't want it to be a bigger venue. I just want the ticket prices to go up per seat.
Hmm.
So, like, let's say the biggest I would want the supper club experience to be is like 50 seats. So,
Right, right.
like, this space right now is like 25, 30 seats. And so I only want like 20 more. It might be like two lofts, and that'll be the space because I really want it to be intimate. I kind of want to bring, all of these like private dinner experiences that we see like celebrities go to, like the Met Gala,
Hmm.
the like, the president like dinner or whatever, and then they only have like X amount of people there, and then they have artists come to sing their acoustic versions of their songs.
Right,
That's what
right.
I.
That's
But
awesome.
for us, we don't have to Barack Obama to see Ariana Grande do acoustic version of her music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Also, because of COVID, all these artists are doing like mini concert series on YouTube.
Yeah.
And so, what would it take to have 50 seats there with the chef to have some of your fans watch that experience? And so you're already doing it. You're already going to be filming it. What's it going to take for us to have like some people to experience it with you and have like that one on one?
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah.
That reminds me of two not so similar but similar things.
Okay.
I know a theater group that does something similar where they've got all these ideas for theatrical productions, but because of the way theater works, you can't go make these huge productions with costumes and scripts and everything that you really want to do. So they make these small, intimate performances, amongst, four or five actors or less, and you get a small group of people. They all know to show up. The food's catered. It's a nice, small little event. And it's weird because you're just driving downtown and suddenly there's this cluster of people somewhere. You're like, hey, what's that? It's like, oh, that's one of the theater events. It's like, okay, they're doing it at such and such restaurant or in this little ballroom or something. And it was always an interesting experience because you're just getting something raw and creative from people that you kind of come to know.
Yeah. Or like just taking the like radio play aspect of like the songs that artists make
Yeah.
and turn it into like how it originally was written, just with the guitar
Okay. Okay.
song. You know what I mean? Like more intimate so
Yeah.
that we can it's just like it would be such an awesome like once in a lifetime like thing.
Yeah.
The ticket would be expensive because it's like you're gonna go see Ariana Grande perform like six songs acoustic with dinner,
Right.
and that ticket will be like so expensive because like
Right.
that's hard
Right.
to get. But you might want to do that like as your once in a lifetime thing because like I would do that if Rihanna did it.
Yeah.
So let me sell my house.
You know what's funny? When I was in San Diego, I went to there was this club that had a basement in it, and my friend was coming down from San Francisco, and I was in San Diego, and he's like, "Yo, coming down to do one of the basement club things, blah blah blah." But that club has a basement. It's like, yeah, dog, it's great. "Oh, okay, sure. I'll come down and we'll go to it." So I forgot how much I paid, but it was a lot more than I normally would have paid. But
Yeah.
friends are coming down, so whatever. We go to this thing, and we're all having a good time, but they're a lot more. It's a lot more extravagant than I figured down in this little basement area. It was actually in an old bank vault, so it was kind of crazy looking. They actually had the bank vault.
Oh, I've been there. I've been
Yes.
there. It's in downtown. I used
Yeah.
to go there in college when it's like a club.
They had a special event, and I forgot what they called it. But my friend, as you said, he came down from San Francisco just for this thing in the vault.
Mm.
And Nick Cannon was there doing this little DJ set and talking to people about he's like, I'm sorry, but this is like the hottest new music out there. And he played Soldier Boy way before anybody had heard him. And we
Oh,
were like,
neat.
yeah, we were like, what the hell is this? You
Yeah.
Soldier Boy. We were just like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'm telling y'all, this is the hottest song, and this is great. Da da da. What y'all want to hear? And it was just a Nick Cannon party with, it wasn't like a small group, but it was one of those experiences that kind of stuck with me. So
Mhm.
I've still been looking for something like that, and I'm glad you're doing this. This is very awesome.
Yeah, that's something that's what I'm pivoting. Like I pivoted towards because I'm passionate about that. I'm also passionate about travel and how I'm gonna get people to travel. So the Charming Wonder stuff is I'm hosting a Cabo tour, which is closer.
Hmm.
It's not so far. It's 2 hours away from LA, and it's from the East Coast, maybe like 5 hours. But
Yeah.
something a little bit closer and easier so that we can kind of get it started and get it going. So end of April, I'm shooting for end of April to host that tour
Yeah.
and do a little bit more because people have been to Cabo, but they don't really go to like La Paz, which is one of the stops on the tour.
Okay. So you know what? I think I love what I'm hearing. I love what you're doing. I think with pivoting, people act like there's one straight path, and you'll hear about certain people having one straight path, but it's usually much more varied than that. And pivoting is part of the process, to me at least. So it'll all come together and all work out in different ways. And part of that whole journey is the surprise and what you're finding and where you go. So I am all for it. Is there anything that I may have left out that we might want to cover that you want to say?
Great. No, I had a great time. I think this was super fun.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, I got to learn a lot of new things. So I'm glad we talked. Definitely.
Yeah, me too.
So really quick, how can people find you?
Um, I have my Instagram is at Dynise, which is how I spell my name anyway. It's Dynise.
Hmm.
I think all of my stuff is at Dynise, and then my travel company is at Charming Wonders _. And Stealthy Presents is at Stealthy Presents. And we are hosting soft open on March 18th. So hopefully you can make that one. It's free and we'll have like 3 DJs on set and then we'll have like small bites.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, very good. Before we leave, is there any advice you want to give people on doing their creative thing, doing their creative journey, or any thoughts you want to leave with people?
It was all a dream. If
Excellent.
you know, you know.
Baby, baby. Yes. So
Thank
thank you very
you so
much,
much.
Dynise. Very good having you on. As I said, I'll be distributing this later, and I'll have all your links up, and I'll definitely be in contact with you again on this.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for having me. It was super fun.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.